I discovered my wife having an affair with her personal trainer, and instead of apologizing or showing remorse, she immediately demanded a divorce and 50% of my assets. However, she had no idea that I had utilized a specific asset protection strategy, and now she is furious because she is walking away with absolutely nothing. I am a 35-year-old accountant and have been loyal to the same local firm for nearly a decade. I have always been a rational, pragmatic person, which explains how I managed to keep my composure throughout this ordeal. I am married to Sarah, who is 33. We have been a couple for 5 years and married for the last two. Fortunately, we have no children, which I now see as a massive relief. Sarah hasn't held a job since our wedding day. She used to work in marketing, but once we made it official, she decided to quit and focus on the home. I didn't object at the time because my salary covers our lifestyle comfortably. We live in a nice house and have a solid nest egg. Nothing flashy, but very secure. Recently, the dynamic shifted. Sarah became distant, spending hours at the gym or out with friends. The affection stopped, and she would get snappy if I asked about her day. I initially thought it was just a marital slump, but my gut told me something was wrong. One evening, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up on the nightstand. I glanced at it instinctively. A message from a guy named Mark popped up. "Counting down the hours until tomorrow, babe." I unlocked the phone. She had been sleeping with Mark, her trainer, for months. The thread was graphic and filled with fantasies about a future that didn't include me. I sat there paralyzed. My wife was betraying me, but instead of screaming, I went numb. I knew I had to handle this like a business transaction. When she walked out of the bathroom, I silently handed her the phone and asked for an explanation. She tried to bluff until I recited the messages back to her. She dropped the act immediately. "I want a divorce," she said cold-bloodedly. No tears, no guilt. She admitted the affair, claimed she was unhappy, and pivoted straight to money. She wanted half the house, half the savings, half of everything. She claimed she deserved it for sacrificing her career to support mine. I remained calm and agreed. I told her if she wanted out, I wouldn't fight her. She could take half of whatever I legally owned. She looked shocked, likely expecting a dramatic breakdown. What Sarah didn't know was that almost every significant asset we enjoyed was in my father's name. Years ago, when my income increased, my dad advised me to title major assets to him as a shield against liability, lawsuits, or, as fate would have it, a situation exactly like this. To the outside world, I looked successful. On paper, however, I owned very little. A modest checking account, an old sedan, and some personal items. The deed to the house, my dad's. The investment accounts, also his. I suggested we go to mediation. She agreed, walking in with a smirk, thinking she was about to cash out. I brought my father and a specialist attorney into the fold to ensure the paperwork was bulletproof. Sarah hired a shark of a lawyer while I stuck with a quiet, efficient counsel. The first step was financial disclosure. I laid out my assets exactly as the law required. When her lawyer saw how little was actually in my name, his arrogance vanished. Sarah lost it. She started screaming, calling me a fraud and a liar. I simply maintained that I had disclosed everything I owned. Her legal team even brought in a forensic accountant, convinced I was hiding funds offshore. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. As the process dragged on, Sarah's frustration boiled over. She realized the windfall wasn't coming. She tried to argue that her homemaking enabled my career, but since I am a standard corporate employee with no meteoric rise to credit her for, that argument fell flat. Desperate, she took to social media, posting vague accusations about financial abuse and living with a narcissist. A few people offered sympathy, but our close circle knew the truth. Meanwhile, the situation with Mark took a turn. When Sarah first told him she was leaving me, he was all in. But once it became clear the money wasn't there and the situation was messy, Mark pulled back. Rumors of the affair started costing him clients at the gym. Nobody trusts a trainer who breaks up marriages. Now Mark is ghosting her, and Sarah is realizing that both her big payday and her fantasy romance were just illusions.